to the regularly scheduled Village Council meeting. Tonight is Monday, June 27th, 2022, and we call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by Trustee George.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can have a call to roll call, please.
Hayden.
Here.
Dialis.
Present.
George.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Nivell.
Here.
Randazzo.
Here.
Rice.
Here. Thank you. And next up, we're looking for an approval of our agenda, please.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
We have a motion on the table by Trustee Green, supported by Trustee Hayden. Any questions or comments at this time? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, that motion carries 7-0. Item number 5 this evening is the approval of the council minutes, and this includes the regular meeting minutes from May 23rd, the budget workshop minutes from June 13th, and the joint meeting minutes of June 13th as well. Looking to entertain a motion?
Make a motion to approve the council minutes of the regular meeting on May 23rd, 22, the budget workshop, June 13th, 22, and the joint meeting minutes of June 13th, 2022.
Support.
We have a motion on the table by Trustee Green, supported by Trustee Randazzo. Do we have questions or comments at this time?
I have a comment on the June 13th. I don't know if you wanted to add that it was suggested that village manager and DDA director review the memo of understanding. I know we talked about it. I don't know if you want to capture that in there. And that was the June 13th one. And then the other one on the May 23rd, I did send something in, and I'll just make the comment. As far as the Old Town accessibility, it said soliciting input from the Historical Society. I had requested it was changed to it was suggested to solicit input from the Historical Society.
You had suggested what? I couldn't hear.
Pardon?
I didn't hear that last sentence.
It was suggested to solicit input from the Historical Society.
Any other questions or comments? All right, are we ready for a vote?
Just for clarification, are we voting on the minutes as they were presented?
As nobody's had any more further discussion, yes, as nobody's responded. It's up to you guys. The current motion stands unless we choose to change it. Are we ready to vote on the motion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay, no.
All right. That motion carries 6-1. Thank you. Next up, item 6 this evening is our acceptance items, and you'll find the finance report from the village treasurer for the month of May, and also the revenue and expenditure report from the village treasurer for the month of May. Followed up with that is item number 7, which is the approval of our disbursements for this evening, ending June 15th, 2022. Our motion on that?
motion to pay our disbursements of $365,927.84 for the period end from May 16, 2022 through June 15, 2022.
Support?
We have a motion on the table by trustee Hayden, supported by trustee Green. Do we have questions or comments at this time? All right, Courtney, please, we're ready for a roll call vote.
Silas?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Hayden?
Yes.
Nivell?
Yes.
Randazzo?
Yes.
Bryce?
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 7-0. Item 8 this evening is the public comment. At this time, as public comment is on agenda items only. We would love to hear from you. If you want to stand up, raise your hand, introduce yourself. Any questions or comments on the agenda items only at this time? Further down, you will see we have a chance to speak with us about non-agenda items only. Anybody at all? Any updates you want to share? No? All right, thank you very much. The approval of the consent agenda is next. We have the minutes from the Planning Commission on April 5th, the minutes from the Brandon Township Public Library Board on April 26th, the minutes of the Planning Commission from May 3rd, the minutes of the Personnel Committee from May 9th, the minutes of the Township of Brandon from May 9th, the Ortonville Community Historical Society minutes from May 10th, the minutes of the Personnel Committee from May 26th, the invoice from the Village Attorney dated June 1st, the Personnel Committee minutes from June 2nd, the Personnel Committee minutes from June 9th, the Heritage Garden Committee minutes from Subcommittee from June 21st, and the special event permit for the Ortonville 5K Run Walk, which is September 25th, 2022. We're looking for a motion on that.
Could we pull the Ortonville 5K Run Walk out? I have a few questions on that, please.
All right, we're looking for a motion on that.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item L, special event permit, Ortonville 5K run walk.
Support?
We have a motion on the table by trustee Hayden, supported by trustee Nivell. Do we have questions or comments at this time on the consent agenda? All right, we are ready for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Would you like to see that put in the manager's report where you can ask questions about that? Or would you like to see that added to the, well, we do have to approve it at some point.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to ask questions and you're not ready for approval? Are you not comfortable once your questions are answered, or are you okay?
Oh, I'll be comfortable
Okay,
then,
all right.
yeah.
All right, so let's move that to new business EF. Is that good? Everybody okay with that? Which brings us to the items from the trustees. So at this point, we're looking for your updates on your committees, subcommittees, all the exciting things that you've been doing. And we will start with Tony.
All right. Hi. So I got some information on Sunday, I believe it was Sunday, that we have temporary pickleball courts were set up at the northeast corner of Sherman Ball Field, which is obviously located at the corners of Ball and Cedar Street. It is my understanding that the courts are prepared using private funds, no money from Township or the village. when I looked at them today, 'cause this is the first chance I got to, they look nice. I don't play pickleball, so I don't know what a nice court looks like, but to me, they look nice. They're, I guess, playable. What I wanted to make sure of is that we followed the conditions that, you know, we cannot have a permanent setup there, which, when I was there, it was tape. It was white tape. There was no nets set up, and there was no banisters. You know, nothing structurally was there permanently. So, in my opinion, I don't think it would hurt to have the people that want to play the game there to play it. My only concern is that what I brought up last month was there's some concrete that is unlevel that could be a trip hazard, although the trip hazards are not within the playing field, you know, the white lines, but they're still there. And as of 6:40, when I was driving by, I did notice some signs, but the front sign is covered with leaves, can't read it, and I think there's one way in the back. I couldn't even read that. My concern is that we need to put something up there stating that the people can play there during the hours that the park is open, but they take all the risk if they injure themselves. But I think we need to let the community know that we know that there's broken cement there, so somebody doesn't walk out there, get hurt, and you know, what's going on, who's gonna pay for it? So I don't suggest we fix it right now, but I think we should at least mark it, make people know it's there, so they can at least avoid it. That's it.
Tony, question for you. Do you know, is any of that, what they did, like the tape or anything like that, in any way type of permanent type thing?
No, it's not.
It's literally wrong time.
From the street, it looks like it is, but I went up, I took pictures, and there's a corner of it that was lifting up. You could clearly tell it's tape.
Okay. And then the other question I was wondering, do you know if this private group that did that on our property, did they approach the village at all and ask if it was okay to do this before they just went ahead and did it?
Well, indirectly they did, because at the last, no, let me finish. At the meeting we had last month, council, it was stated that they could set up a temporary playing area as long as it was not permanent. And I believe Melanie specifically mentioned or asked about, you know, the barricades and that, or the banisters and the nets. And with all my conversations with Clerk Blair and with Fred Waybrand, as long as nothing is structurally standing there permanent, they can do that. It'd be the same thing as somebody going out and putting up hockey nets and playing. And the tape can be removed at any time. So if the village so chooses to have it removed, they can remove it. I wouldn't suggest it because it's not hurting anything. So
It's just, I am always uncomfortable when I hear about private citizen groups doing things related to you know, either village property or under village responsibility or pertaining to certain village ordinances like signs where they do something without at least first you know, formally notifying the village and just informing us that they would like to do something like that. I mean, we had the same situation a couple years ago in the early phases of COVID where signs were put up, temporary signs were put up in the right of way, and businesses did that without approaching us first. And of course, we'd be happy to work with the businesses, but in the end, we had to have them moved into a more appropriate spot because they did not come to us first. And I want to avoid any issues with, you know, procedure or process like that by just encouraging any private group that wants to do something like that to please at least, you know, consult and inform the village first and just make sure that what they're doing is in synchronization with, and we understand what's going on and we know who's doing it and why and how.
I totally agree.
So is that different than a family going to have a picnic and play kickball in the baseball fields and hanging out all day, or the kids drawing hopscotch on that same cement
Do they
pad.
leave the chalk marks and everything else there after they leave for the day?
Till
Or
it
they
rains, and
just-
anybody can pull that up, you know, at any
Yeah,
point,
I'm just
but.
saying is that this is something that apparently was done, it's not permanent, but it's not just for the day, it's obviously there for an extended period of time. And that's my concern, is it's not just, okay, we're there, we do this, and we set it up, and at the end we tear it down and walk away, and it looks just as if it did when you arrived. That's the difference from what you're talking about, I think.
Well, they're not leaving any equipment behind. It's their
No,
personal
but
equipment,
they
so they are
leaving the
taking
table
it.
and stuff like
Right.
that. So, I mean, they're coming in, they changed it, and they left it changed.
Okay.
It's different from coming in, you utilize an area, put up banners and stuff, and you take everything down, and it goes away with you when you leave.
It's my
So,
thought.
well, I was gonna say, what anybody else like to see? I know Tony made a recommendation. Go ahead.
My thought is, it's temporary. What the grant says is it can't be something permanent. They're still pursuing the grant. We're gonna make it permanent. Why make a mountain out of a molehill? I guess, at this point, I just don't see the problem. And I'd be a little bit leery if we do put signs up, is that us saying, that, would it interfere with the grant? I don't want anything to interfere with the grant, and then we're stuck with nothing at that point.
Are you done? Are you done? I talked to Fred about that today, and I think no matter, even if somebody was to walk in there, right, not even playing pickleball, just walking their dog, and they trip, one of us on this council knows that the cement's busted, and that person took pictures of it. So I think it's in our best interest, at least mark it, so people know it's there. That's it's the same thing as you walking down the sidewalk, and you trip on somebody's sidewalk, you're gonna be held responsible. I think it doesn't have to be fixed, it just needs to be marked.
Tony, you did mention that, I know we had existing signs up about the skate park rules, and I believe they did cover use at your own risk, something like that. So, are those the signs that you said are currently there but are just obscured?
I think those are the signs, because I couldn't read them. I was too far from the one on the inside, and the blue one up front is covered. But that one's specific, and I might be pulling here, but that specifically says skate park. And the skate park at that time was not busted concrete or cracked concrete.
So I go back to, how is this any different? Because it has been sitting that way for 2 years.
Right.
The kids have been playing on it, riding their bikes. I walk my dog there all the time. She runs around.
Same.
This has been, it's me all the time. And yes, I clean up my own poop. I mean, constantly. This is no different. This is one more thing that I think, and I don't want to be wrong, but we're overthinking. You can trip anywhere at any time. It is open access public. You could hit your head at the baseball fields. How is this different?
We do have liability at all of our parks, so.
I mean,
we would be
the rules
covered
are
if
in our
something
recreation
happened.
departments, in an ordinance, when you can and can't be there, and what you can and can't do. I believe we are covered on a broad range,
Okay.
not specifically, are you playing, a
Right.
recreational organized sport? No, if a family is bringing their equipment and playing there, is that any different than, you teaching your daughter to ride a bike there? I don't believe it is. In my opinion, I want some feedback as to
Yeah,
if we
I
feel.
agree with that, and I also feel that if the signs are obscured, as you said, you can't read them, perhaps first step is just clear the signs so that they're clearly visible, and that should be sufficient in my mind.
I mean, it involves cutting the tree, cutting branches away, that's all. But again, I'm not going to do it without somebody saying, yeah, go ahead and do it,
Well,
Oh, we have
that's
people.
kind of what
I
we
mean,
have.
and they're doing it on their
No,
own.
that's what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah.
Yes, and they're doing it on their own. I don't know, maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but I don't know why we'd have to put any signs up there. They're just doing it because they want to. They can see the condition of the old skate park.
Well, and again, I want to reiterate that the playing field doesn't have the crack in it, inside that.
Right.
It's on the outside towards the grass, so.
So is it open all the time? It's never locked now?
Sometimes it's locked because there's been garbage issues.
So,
Never
excessive
seen a
garbage
lot.
issues,
How
after
did-
the trail, when the equipment was still there.
oh, right, but so when they want, let me
There are
ask,
hours on the park too.
when they want to use the park, do they have to come to the office and get a key to unlock it? So how's it get unlocked? Or is it staying unlocked?
It's locked when the DPW and village office, I'm not saying just them, but feels that it's necessary because there's excessive trash. So they found at some point people were dumping home trash, things like that, so they just kind of hindered that and made it difficult for a little while till that stopped. And
Okay, so now it will be permanently open though, or unlocked?
it's comes and goes. Ryan, you wanna speak more of that?
It hasn't been locked since I started in the village.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
it
right.
was.
question.
Yeah, it's been locked
Oh.
3 or 4 times this summer.
All right.
There is
Who's
currently a
responsible for
lock.
locking?
Memorial
and
Day
unlocking.
weekend, it was after the tournament, because that's when he found more and then he locked it again, I think it was last week or the week before,
The-
Father's Day weekend, I
The
think.
village office and the DPW both have keys.
I was
All
gonna
right.
say, if it's any, that lock is brand new.
Yeah.
It doesn't even look aged.
But that wasn't to hinder recreational use, it was to hinder
Exactly.
the wrong use at the wrong place at
Yeah.
the wrong time.
Okay,
Pretty
yeah,
sure that there's
and we didn't know
hours or
about the garbage, and then the only other thing, the liability is, we're broad and we're covered, and then if they bring in a, temporary, their equipment, I don't want the village to be responsible for if they leave it there and it's stolen, that whoever brings it in knows that's on them. And I don't know how we communicate that, because.
They're taking it with them, they're not leaving anything.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's similar to what you said, if you come and use the park for a day, if you happen to leave your stuff behind and somebody else picks it up and
Right.
carries it away, it's your bad.
That's what's up.
Good point. Any other concerns you can think of, Ryan, that we've not hashed out?
Plenty, but I'm not prepared to
yeah.
dissertate on
Pickleball?
their merits.
Thank you for raising this, Tony, I wasn't aware of
No problem.
Anything else you have?
Movie nights?
Yeah, how did that go?
Oh. Okay, well, movie night, the actual night, we had to reschedule. The winds were a little too high and the screen wasn't staying up. But I do wanna mention this as a safety thing. In the heat, stay out of it if you can, because I suffered really bad heat exhaustion for 2 days. Saturday, I was finally able to go ahead and run the movie Saturday night, and it was good. It was good. The
Did we have
next
good
one,
attendance?
I'm sorry.
Did we have good attendance, or how was it?
You know, it kind of was, because people were coming in as it was getting darker, and then by the time I turned the lights on, people were already gone. So it was good though. I mean, I was told it was a little bit too loud from my wife, who was at home, but we had a good time. So, yeah, we did end up running it Saturday, which I did put in a rain date for that special permit. So the next one, I am not actually doing the film on it, but it's being ran by the Oakland County Parks and Recreation. I believe it's going to be July 13th. And then my next movie run will be out at the community park at Hadley and Oakwood in August. So, yeah, it's been an interesting couple weeks. So that's about all I got.
Perfect. Melanie, please.
Heritage Garden met, the meetings are in your packet, and the presentation will be at our next meeting, unless anything unforeseen comes up, but that's the plan at this point. Planning Commission, we are working on zoning, meetings again in the packet. And wayfinding, we're just waiting on some final info that I finally got word today that we'll be getting something soon. So I know this is taking long, and just be patient. We have to wait on info, and when it's a committee, you have to work with various schedules. So we're doing the best we can. I attended the town hall on the marijuana ballot initiative. There may be, I don't know, you're gonna talk about it more, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll wait till we get down there, down on the agenda, and we'll talk about that. Holly Fire, since Chief Quapis is here, thank you very much for helping the village of Holly out with their fire. That was so sad, but all of you did such a great job. And maybe you can tell us a little more, but I understand there are 20 fire departments and 175 firefighters that were there on scene from Genesee and Oakland.
That's correct.
And I think that's incredible. You saved their downtown. All of you together did. And it's a town near and dear. I've been around there way longer than I have here. And I can't thank you enough. And I know Holly is just very, very happy and thankful. So thank you.
Well, we were happy to be able to provide support to them. I will say that of the hottest day of the year so far.
Yes.
Thankfully, the humidity level wasn't, equally as high. But the crews, all the crews of all those departments and agencies that were, had responded that afternoon and evening, went above and beyond to definitely mitigate what could have been, extremely disastrous. Not that it already isn't for a lot of those businesses, but it could have been so much more worse.
They could have lost their entire downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pass it along to the crews.
Please.
Yeah, please. Let's see what else. The Brandon Township is hiring an ordinance code enforcement officer. I just wanted to bring that to our attention, and maybe that is something that we could relook at again in the future. I know when we brought it up, or when I brought it up initially, it was not really considered, but maybe down the road we can consider that, which leads into my next comment. Wayne Wills stopped, I was out walking today, and Wayne Wills had stopped and mentioned that on Ball Street, the neighbor right next door to Ball Street, they have sewage that is seeping in the backyard that is actually coming onto the ball fields. So I said I would say something this evening. So I don't know if Ryan, that is you, or W, or whoever needs to check it out.
Thank you. That's me as code enforcement.
Okay. So I let him know I would bring that up. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Larry.
Okay. IT committee did not meet this month. Once the budget is approved and we get started in the new budget, we'll probably try to get an IT committee meeting sometime late July or early August to see where we stand with Office 365 and the email and website situation and some other topics like that. Ryan, do we have updated quotes from all those topics yet? Or?
No.
No? Okay. So hopefully we'll get those updated quotes before we meet. Once we have those planned, we can review those things and start moving forward on those topics.
I should clarify, Office 365, the quote was approved at our last meeting, correct? And so we're working through that process with IT, right? It takes a while to migrate all the data and yada yada, so it's a 2 or 3 month process, so that will happen likely in August, more to come. And then website is an ongoing one. We haven't pursued that any further. Were there any other quotes you were referring to?
The only other thing I'm aware of is Beth's replacement.
And yep, we haven't done that until we have a budget, so yep.
Okay.
What did you say?
What?
Replacement of Beth's desktop.
Oh.
I knew what he meant.
But what?
Desktop.
Okay, desktop, gotcha.
SEMCOG, we had a SEMCOG regional meeting just last week on Thursday. It was a really interesting meeting. They had various elections and stuff. Ryan and I both were in attendance there. There was some interesting updates about the state, and I'm sure that they will be publishing all the presentation once we get that information. I'll make sure it gets forwarded to everybody on council so they can see all of the information and presentations that were given at some kind of meeting. One thing that particularly piqued my interest was something that was mentioned about in the legislative updates about these new Spark grants that are out there. These are grants that are going to be able to be used for developing parks and trails and paths. And it seems like, from what they were saying, a lot of the restrictions and requirements on other types of park and trail grants are not in these grants, so it means it might be easier to apply for them and get some money out of it. So that's something that I had seen and previously forward to Brian. I think that might be something that maybe our newly formed Friends of the Trails Committee or group could maybe investigate what it would take for us to get some of this Spark grant money. So if they could do some of the legwork for us, I think that would be a wonderful thing that they can look into. And Ryan, do you have anything else more to add about the SEMCOG?
No, just details to follow. We'll get it, we'll share it.
And I think that's it for me.
Thank you very much. How about Kay, please?
This month and last month, we've met a lot on the Personnel Committee. We are reviewing, one of the major things was the policy, I'm not saying it right, the personnel policies. And we've looked at and revised everything that was there. We found a number of things we need to add, but they're really, as you get into them, they're so time-consuming, and they just cover a lot of different areas that it's going to take us some time to see what we want to put, if anything, about them. But we've been looking at the annual reviews, the job descriptions. We're trying to get those up to date or current with what people are actually doing now. The compensation, and basically it's all in the minutes that we have in here, but we've been spending a lot of time trying to come up with all of this. The personnel policies are with the attorney, and they have been for about a month. We're waiting for his okay on it or comments or whatever, and we haven't got it back yet, so that's why that's still hanging out there. Some of the areas that we're working on but may or may not come to fruition are working from home. I think that one might. Phones, file retention, social media, conflict of interest. Some of those you will be seeing, but at a later date. We just want to get the main booklet done and out to you so you can approve that if you so desire. That is pretty much it. We're still meeting. We're meeting on a regular basis trying to get all this done.
I did notice two of the personnel minutes did not have who attended. The one did, but the two didn't. If you don't mind updating those two for archive.
Okay.
Please. Lots of work. We appreciate you guys. Pat, how about you? Oh, I'm sorry. Was there anything?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Pat, how about you, please?
Yeah, on Historical Society, the big issue still seems to be about getting the mill painted in a somewhat timely manner. It's been suggested that perhaps that maybe expedite that happening if we could break it down into two pieces. One would be the prep, and then the second piece would be the paint. Maybe different people can do different things. And on the prep part of it, maybe we can get volunteers or I always think get some of those football players out there scraping the paint, things like that. Then you bring in the professional painter to finish it. So that's their big concern is getting that done. And there will be another picnic that they sponsor on the grounds this summer. And I wrote a date down, didn't bring it with me, but it'll be sometime this summer. That's it.
Well, thank you. I think just being conscious of following the National Historic Monument procedures for that building, who's working on it, why, how, and I know that's not our cup of tea. I don't know, where that's handled, but That's the only concern.
Exactly.
Making sure it's done correctly, professionally, not professionally, but quality, but following those
Yeah, if I could
rules.
share a thought on that or give a little input. My only concern with using the football players and stuff is I know prepping for paint work, if it's done right, the paint can last for years. If it's not done right, we might be repainting in just a few years.
80% of the job, right.
So I think that probably I would be more willing to spend a little bit of money to make sure it's prepped properly and correctly so that that paint's gonna hold.
Well, right now, we're having trouble getting nothing started.
Are they changing the flower boxes and benches?
Yes.
What are they?
Benches for sure, and on the flower boxes, I'm not sure if they're just updating them or actually, I know the benches are getting replaced.
I'm sorry, what?
The benches are being replaced. Not sure about the flower.
Thanks. Anything else? Keith, please.
Nothing at this time.
All right. Brian, did you want to give anything RC, or you did some, or anything else? Before we, DDA vote? Anything else?
I mean, fire authority, we met via email a couple of times, but we'll let Chief Guapis fill in the blanks there.
Excellent. And RRC continues to get on those last tasks that are hanging over now that the master plan has been approved.
Zoning ordinance.
We see
has a lot of them.
the zoning ordinance as our next big hurdle, and working away on the little things, so when these big pieces fall into place, we are getting there. So, bear with us on that. DDA actually met this morning, so you don't have the current DDA minutes in there. Keep in mind, the fireworks are coming up. Did you want to give a plug on that? For volunteers or anything? Okay.
The fireworks are this Sunday, July 3rd. The fireworks will be at dark right about, what do we usually set off? About 10? 10, 10:15, somewhere in there. The event, though, the fireworks and food trucks event runs from 5 until 10 at the high school, in the high school parking lot. Same setup as we used to have before COVID. So we're excited to be getting back to that. We'll have 20+ food trucks in 3 different inflatables, face painter, music, live music. We have a lemonade vendor coming and an edible cookie dough vendor coming on top of the food trucks, so it should be a good night for everybody. Again, that's this Sunday, July 3rd from 5 to whenever the fireworks are done. A reminder about the fireworks, please do not try to park behind the middle school or past any of the CERT team members. They are blocking those parking areas for your safety. If anybody has time to come down and volunteer with the DDA, we could use all the help we can get setting up, tearing down, manning the inflatables for a little while, just making sure not too many kids are not inside and deflating the inflatables, things like that. We do have a sign-up Genius set up for that, which should be going out actually this evening. I think it was supposed to go out earlier today, and I don't think it made it, but hopefully you'll see that this evening. That's all I can think of about the fireworks.
The match? Those are still...
Oh, the match is still running at Real Estate One, so if you would like to donate, we're very, very, very close to how much we need. We just need that little bit of push to get us over the edge. So if you'd like to make a donation to the fireworks, you can do so either in the office or preferably at Real Estate One next to McDonald's or Stepping Stone, right up there on 15, because Real Estate One Charitable Foundation will match your donation at 50%. So if you donate $100, it becomes $150, which we will take every dollar amount donation we can get. But we're very close, so. Also, we'll be posting a PayPal link this evening to hopefully get some more support and push us over the edge. Unfortunately, the cost of fireworks themselves, not just everything else, but the fireworks themselves have gone up 30% this year. So we've had to do a little extra legwork, which is hard enough as it is.
Well, you're probably farther ahead this year than you were last year at this time.
Last year I only had 6 weeks to raise the money,
Right.
so.
That was a fire in the bill.
It was a little easier this year. And thank you to the village council for your donation, as well as the Brandon Township Board, and all of our other sponsors we've already received this year. And there's too many wonderful sponsors for me to try to remember off the top of my head. But thank you everyone so far.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Think of anything else, Ryan? Okay. We are going to move on the agenda to item 11, which is the unfinished business. We'll pass right on through to 12, which is our new business for the evening. We'll start with the Brandon Fire Department, and there's 5 items that I'll turn over to Chief Wattis, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so we got 2 things. The first is the administrative assistant position. Kate Carl, who's been with us for quite some time, is retired July 8th. So we put out to look for a replacement. After 2 unsuccessful attempts of hiring a couple of people, we finally come upon the 3rd, and that is Andrea Murphy. She actually works for the clerk's office, and that's where we got Kay from. So yeah, I did it again. So in any case, Andrea has already been working part-time with us, part-time with the township, because they don't want to leave the township barren of employees. So with that, we're still working all that out, but she's been fitting right in and has picked up on everything very well. So I'm just asking you to do the suggested motion. The township's already approved it, and so has the fire.
Make a motion to hire Andrea Murphy as administrative assistant for the Brandon Fire Department with a start date of June 13th, 2022.
Support?
We have a motion on the table by trustee Green, supported by trustee Nivell. Do we have any questions or comments at this time? We are ready for a vote, and we will do a roll call vote on this, please. When you're ready.
Sorry guys.
You're fine.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Silas,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 7-0. Please congratulate her for us.
Thank you. And if you get a chance, stop in and see Kay before she takes off on, I think she's gonna be gone for about 3 weeks, and then she said she's gonna stop back in the office periodically just to make sure I'm still doing my job.
She will be missed.
Yeah,
She's a good one.
She will be. Absolutely. So the next is, as Courtney had indicated, yeah, everything is 30% increase. We were notified 3 weeks ago. The trucks that we were gonna purchase in January are going up another 7.5%. And there's fear that, and that would be July 1st. We know that they're gonna go up again after that. We just don't know what they're gonna go up to. So I did a little creative financing, started looking at, okay, how can we do this? Because we're paying cash so that we can save money. And if we don't do this and order these trucks now, we're gonna be losing out another $100,000 on the purchase of these 2 trucks. So if you look at the ambulance budget, you can see where I'm pulling $400,000 housing. So, basically, what you'll see is, if you look at the fire ambulance budget 210, in 2023, it's gonna show us paying back that 400,000. That's the yellow highlight with the red 4,000. It's not a negative number, it's just highlighted in red so that it stood out. This year, we will take 400,000 and transfer it to fire E&H. By doing so, that will put our fire E&H fund balance forward approximately $1.5 million. Some change. The trucks are coming in at $1,290,374. So by moving that 400,000, we'll have plenty of funds in there. We'll still have a little bit of a slush fund until January in the new budget year. And then we'll have ample funds to turn around and pay back the ambulance budget so that that stays, and then continue to start the bill for the next trucks that your future fire chief will be purchasing. Because it won't be me.
Is there a timeline on that?
10 years will be the next set of
How
trucks.
long are you gonna be?
Somewhere between now and then.
Ben?
1 in 9.
9.5.
Good answer.
Now in the next truck.
That's fun.
You know, I've always said, the best part is, and I will say this, that I finally reached the age requirement for me to retire. So 2 bad days, and you can go, right? I mean, that's what everybody looks forward to. Is that about right? But I will tell you this, I have an excellent staff, excellent crew. I have 2 supportive boards. We have a very supportive community, and quite frankly, I'm having way too much fun, so I'm not going anywhere right away. But anyways, so what we did is, like I said, looked at what we could do with those numbers, with the money that we currently have, and that is what we can do and get these trucks paid for, and quite frankly, not have to worry about them going up, who knows, another 15, 20, 30%. I just can't fathom that, so anyways. So there's a suggested motion there. If you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2022 custom pumper and a 2022 commercial tanker from KME through the Michigan Dealer Payette Sales and Service. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yep.
For a combined total of $1,290,374. 900,000 coming from fire department, E&H, carry forward, and $390,374 coming from ambulance carry forward to be paid back by the E&E budget in 2023, and to approve the necessary budget amendments.
Support.
We have a motion on the table by trustee Nivell, supported by trustee Hayden. Do we have questions or comments at this time?
Thank you for taking that. I think this is exciting. Are you excited about it?
It is, because it's gonna be the same design that the last 2 trucks, so everything is really starting to come together for our new
Good.
scheme, if you will,
Yep.
color scheme, so. Yeah, we're really excited, everybody's pretty excited about it, so.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, we will do a roll call vote on this, please.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Dilus,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. That motion carries 7-0 as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is item B. This evening is the adoption of our Village of Hortonville budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023. And I will begin with Manager Mattis on that, please.
All right, your packet contains the budget documents for the 2022-2023 Village of Hortonville proposed budget. A couple action items here. We get to adopt the budget. We also get to approve the 2022 tax rate request, which is in your packet there. I recommend we adopt the budget for fiscal year 22-23. We want to start with the tax rate request.
Please.
So in your packet, you'll see the worksheet there. It's pretty straightforward. It spells out it comes from the Department of Treasury. It tells us our tax rate and tax bill value. It's how we determine what we plan our tax revenue to be for the fiscal year.
So we are looking to entertain a motion to accept this,
Except what?
the tax rate request. It's
Do
semantics.
we accept or approve?
We can approve, and can, that's what it's
I
the,
make a motion to approve the 2022 tax rate request as submitted.
So is it going down? Am I reading this right? Is it going down?
Support.
we have a motion on the table by
We can
trustee
comment.
Hayden, supported by trustee Nivell. Do we have any questions or comments at this time?
Sorry, I don't know.
No, that's
Go
good.
right ahead.
I got it in quick.
There was
So I
excitement.
think 2021, 2020, 2021, 8.6, 2022, 8.5.
Well, that's what we are allowed to levy. We are only levying 8.0.
Right.
But we're allowed to levy initially 12.5, and then it got cut back by Headley, and it continuously seems to get scaled back further, so.
Why wouldn't we do 8.5?
Why what?
Why wouldn't we do 8.5?
Because the public would not want to see an increase in their tax rates. It's an option, but we haven't changed that tax rate from 8.0 for
Many years.
probably at least 20, 30.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions or comments at this time? All right, in one moment, we will do a roll call vote on that, please.
Sorry guys, my packet got me a little mixed up.
I think we went a little out of order here,
Yeah.
too.
We did.
Okay, so it's not just me.
No.
No, 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 no.
Cool.
We want to make sure you're awake.
We don't know if you're paying attention.
It's all good. I'm here for, I can handle it. Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Silas,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes, thank you. That motion carries 7-0. Next up is Ryan Matsuket,
Yeah.
please.
Resolution to adopt Village of Ortonville municipal budget and related property tax millage rates for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. So we've been.
Suppose we have to have a motion before we do this.
We do. I can give my preamble of we've had a couple budget workshops. I've met with the village staff. We've talked through this over the last several months. Beth, our village treasurer, has done an excellent job of carrying the load to get us to this point of having our budget prepared. She's very helpful with this, among many other things. So I recommend at this time that we adopt the budget for fiscal year 2022-2023.
I make a motion to adopt Village of Ortonville Resolution number 2022-05, resolution to adopt Village of Ortonville municipal budget and related property tax millage rates for fiscal year ending June 30, 2023. That's the one.
Yes. We're working backwards over here. You're good. All right, do we have a support?
Support.
She's just giving me time to type.
Right.
It's on page,
I got it.
Motion on the table by trustee Hayden, supported by trustee Green. Do we have questions or comments at this time? Please.
Okay, so I apologize for missing the workshops, and I'm not an accountant. But I'm trying to figure out, so we have the major streets report. I'm assuming that's part of the budget. And it's showing negative 600 grand for major streets. But then when I go back to the blue sheet with the condensed budget, I'm not seeing a negative 600 grand anywhere. What am I missing?
600 grand?
Yeah. Around there. Yep.
Sorry.
Not that door wide open, is it?
I mean, I'm not an accountant either, but.
Because I'm seeing where, fund transfer for 200 grand, but I don't see that negative 600 grand is impacting the budget.
So you're in major streets, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hook up with major and local.
That's where I usually defer to Beth.
I'm sorry.
I usually turn to Beth, help me find my way.
Well, you've got the major and the local with the fund balance, and I'm still trying to find it to give you numbers. But you're transferring from both of them, which is only 200,000.
yeah, that's missing is the summary sheet of the total of all of them.
I'm thinking that's what's happened here.
This one.
Oh, the one's right in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't know what page you're on.
I don't know how to figure out.
I don't know what page you're on. What page are you on?
Right here. That's how I can know it's not.
What page, Keith?
What page what?
Are you on?
Well, there's this handout which has the major streets, which is a negative $631,000. And then when you look at this document, under,
I think we're missing a sheet on this particular document.
there's
Oh, yeah.
fund transfer to major streets.
Excuse me.
But that doesn't show up on the major street sheet. But there's not I don't see the negative 600 grand is carried over into here anywhere,
He's asking.
Into the blue one.
Yeah.
into the blue one.
Because this is the budget report for the end, and this is the projected next year's budget. I didn't have this one in front of me.
23 requested budget.
Which one?
The-
The major streets one.
Yeah,
That is the calculations for the budget report. That's passed, correct? We put $600 in there, we did the road project, now we're done, correct? Now we're moving on with the new one. Am I wrong? This is a report, this isn't the, I'm
no, it's requested budget for 22 to 23.
not seeing that.
That's the Orange County.
right, the column to
Okay,
the left.
I'm
of the
sorry,
orange is
I'm
the
reading the top of the
activity.
report, okay,
Yep.
all right.
I'm sorry, I'm short on an answer. The big activity in major streets is the Oakwood sidewalk.
And I think that's a sidewalk from the shopping plaza to.
No, yeah, to somewhere.
Yeah.
To somewhere is the best way to put it.
Yep.
It's the small urban grant, so that's it's a revenue to the general fund that gets transferred to major streets. It's one that, it's a small urban grant for $225,000, and then we'll have some, expense with that as well, but, it's a tricky one. That's the big number in major streets for 22, 23.
That isn't shown on here, that urban grant that you're referring to?
It is, it's shown in sidewalks, on page 1 of major streets, right in the middle of the
Well, see,
page.
sidewalks is $281,000, but you said there's gonna be 200 and some odd grand of that is a grant, or is that in addition to the 281?
Under the 281, we're only paying a portion.
That's correct. Some of it's a revenue.
Yeah, we're
Trying
not
to find
paying the
it.
total $281.
But then there should be a $225,000 revenue up here.
No.
Yeah, what's missing is the fund balance, where we can see what the fund balances are gonna be at the beginning and end of the budget and stuff like that. It's kind of shown in here, but it's not really,
No, it's not shown at all.
because I would really like to see what happens. I also have a question, I could bring this up or ask a question or do it.
Well, hold on a minute, before
Oh,
you
yeah.
move on, you said it's not showing the beginning fund balance, but it shows you the beginning fund balance and the ending, so what are we missing?
Where's the
Next
fund
meeting.
balance? Go down to page 2 of the resolution.
Maybe we could take a few minutes and. you
Beginning
could
fund
talk to
balance,
Beth?
ending fund
I have an
balance.
answer.
Yes, on
Could you
each
reach out to Beth?
individual fund.
No?
But what's the total of all fund balances?
Net revenue, total funds of 202, which is major streets.
I mean, I could grab my calculator out. Well,
He
let's
asked,
see. So
it's
if
not
we
showing the
look
beginning and the end, but they're
at-
both right there. The net, oh,
I'm just saying, 'cause I'm looking at this, 75 fund balance, beginning and ending is the same amount. 550.
Oh, that's a separate, is that what that is? That's a separate budget? So this is the budget of major streets, and this is a different budget? That's why.
Yeah, there-
Yeah, we have general fund is the blue.
There's 3 accounts to budget.
Major streets is the orange, and
Local streets is the green.
But this is where I'm looking at.
So if we're negative 631, and we're only transferring over 200 grand, we're still negative by 400 grand.
And if I look at it this way, if we're negative 631 in major streets, and we only have 553,000 in general fund, and we only have 25,000 in local streets, then when you total all 3 fund balances up together, the ending balance is gonna be negative. That would put us kind of bankrupt, wouldn't it? Which is, that's why I said, I'm missing the summary of all of the fund balances and what our total fund balance is gonna be at the end of 2023 with this budget.
Because I don't see this transfer of major streets, the 191,988, I would think would show up on the major streets, but I don't see it.
Now, are we expecting that we're gonna have some bigger fund balances from this year that haven't been calculated yet, that will carry forward in the next year, or what's the reason?
Everything that we expect is spelled out in these documents. I don't have great answers for you.
Okay.
We can hash it out. We can call some more budget workshops. We can call some special meetings at taxpayer
Well,
expense.
we have to call one real soon, because
Do you have the balance sheet, Larry, from last meeting? That might help.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the minutes of the,
It's,
Well, I was looking at my budget workshop one, and one of the things, and this is why I wanted to raise this point, is if we look at the biggest one that's an issue looks to be major streets, correct? And if I recall, major streets one, we had decided to cut out the $20,000 for Granger Center.
Right.
Yes.
We had decided, but that's still included in this budget. We had decided to cut out the $100,000 for Edward Street and Marion Street, but it's still shown in this budget. So if we cut those two line items, the one by 20,000, the other one by, cut out the 100,000, that would reduce the major street expenditures by 120,000. Why, is there a reason that was not in this final proposed budget?
Yes, because these are June 8th numbers, and this is not the version that we agreed on June 13th.
right.
Remember, she said when she saved it, nothing saved, and she had to re-put everything back in again, and that's where.
This is the
Okay, so we
incorrect
really
version.
It is
don't
the
want-
correct, yeah.
We need to amend some of those things that we said we wanted to remove, and then,
Well,
No, we need to find the correct.
yes, because that's gonna have an impact on, the adoption of this, and we have to make adjustments if we want to do it. Those were the ones that I had noted, the major streets that we definitely need to.
Because she changed everything, we all verified. She asked Ryan to verify, she asked me to verify, they were all verified. She saved it, it didn't save, then she had to go back and put them all in again.
This is the one we,
And this is,
so this happened
so
this
the
week?
one that Jenna ended up with, I believe, was
this is
not the correct one
version.
Yes.
that Beth had.
And is that the one that this resolution was based on, is the correct?
I have the,
Okay, so the revenues.
some of the changes from the other one, or how do you want to proceed with this?
I was just going to say, the best bet is, there were only 3 big changes.
right.
To approve the dated, with those specific changes removed, if you choose to. Because at the last workshop, those are the 3 items that we removed.
Okay, it looks like the resolution is including the reduction of $120,000. Because if I'm looking at the resolution, under the line that says major streets and all expenditures, it shows for a proposed budget $484,318. And the worksheet I have, which is also the incorrect one we have in our packet, shows that as $604,318. So the $120,000 is removed from the resolution. So the resolution is correct, even though the supporting worksheets that were provided.
You're right, or no?
So in the end, is this a balanced budget that, yes, we will be reducing our general fund, but we won't be in the red? From what we can tell?
That was my understanding.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think that our resolution is okay, even though the worksheet we had didn't show the cuts. It looks like they are incorporated in the resolution.
Right.
So the resolution looks correct.
So do we want to make note then, of the changes, which ones that are not on here? How would you like to
Granger
proceed?
Street, Naren Street.
I'm asking
I would
President
want-
Bryce, how would you like to proceed?
It is at the comfort of council, but my recommendation is to accept, the last draft that those 3 changes were made on, specifying those 3 changes.
I would suggest, since I made the motion to adopt adopt the resolution is correct.
Right.
So we
Right.
don't need to make
Correct.
a change to the motion or anything.
It's just
No, not to
the-
that.
Yeah.
Attached
We
documentation.
discussed that there were discrepancies because we had the old worksheets there, but
Right.
the resolution itself is correct and we don't need to.
Is it though?
It
100%?
is from what I can see.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, from what we can see.
Yeah.
If we state, as long as those 3 items are included and adjusted, then we've cut, if it's incorrect, then we have to go back and change it. That's what I'm saying. Without verification of those 3 items. I see
Well,
the
if we
2,
adopt this
do you see the,
and, I mean, at this point, if we adopt this budget tonight, and there is anything that's not fully correct and has to be adjusted, we could do a budget amendment.
can amend
for
it.
the
Correct.
2022-2023 year, correct?
Correct.
right?
So I think that in that
Yeah.
case, if this looks like it's a balanced budget and it looks okay, I expect, I know for a fact, I know we're gonna be making budget adjustments for some reason or another next year, so.
Absolutely.
So, again, I apologize for missing the budget workshop, but looking at this resolution document, the revenues versus expenditures equal out. So when I look at the budget report for the village of Hortonville, showing the beginning and ending fund balance of $553,000, so that would be an accurate statement, and that's what we should have at the end of next year, based on this proposed resolution, correct?
That would have been a question you might have been best served asking Beth before tonight.
Well, we're voting
I
on
mean,
this.
I know that.
Answer these questions. It's pretty simple questions.
Well, we've had 2 workshop sessions to answer all questions. As of the last workshop, everything balanced.
Balanced
Once
at the
we
last.
took out the 3 items. The draft does not show the 3 items taken out. They were taken out, they were balanced, and they were accurate.
Right.
So that's where we're at. Mathematically correct, paperwork incorrect because it is the wrong version in front of us. So that's what is causing the confusion. As long as we are all in agreement and comfortable with the resolution, that is where we're at. If you two, which would be Larry and Kay, made the motion, are comfortable to proceeding, we can. If not, please let me know. And I'm not rushing, we'll still have questions, but I'm just saying, that is what the focus is on, is the motion of the resolution at this point. Are you comfortable with continuing to pursue that or not?
Is Larry comfortable with his motion?
I'm comfortable with the motion.
And I'm comfortable with it.
Comfortable supporting, okay. All right, one more time, Courtney, will you read that to us so we know, so if there's any further discussion, we know where we're at.
To adopt the Village of Ortonville resolution, to adopt Village of Ortonville municipal budget and related property tax millage rates for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023.
All right, any questions or comments at this point on this item? Are we ready for a vote?
Why not?
Anybody?
I'm ready.
All right. All right, we will do a roll call vote.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
No.
Silas,
No.
George,
No, but I believe that the, what you're saying about the budget's probably balanced okay. I just had a different point of.
This is strictly resolution though, right?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so I gotta go no, but it's basically for me a whole different item. I think I'll just say no.
So wait, 1, 2, 3, or 3?
I don't see any money in there for trail development.
Green,
Oh, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
That's all.
Hayden,
Yes.
Bryce,
Yes.
and Green.
That motion carries 4-3, thank you. Yeah, I double right.
So will we be getting a correct backup sent to us
Correct.
when Beth is back in the office?
Will have to be corrected, it will have to be, revised in the packet, and it will have to be posted. Well, thank you for putting all those pieces together. It took about 8 minds, but that's great. All right, item C would be the adoption of the Village of Ortonville CIP for 22-23. And I will send it 22 to 29. And I will send it over to Manager Mattis. I'm so used to my 1-year plan, but you are amazing.
A capital improvements plan, a CIP, has been talked about in the village for some time. We've had many fits and starts. This item serves to adopt a CIP for 2022 to 2029. Your packet contains the CIP that has been approved and created by the Planning Commission and recommended to the Village Council. Over many years, the village has worked to adopt a CIP. It's required for a couple different things, but the Michigan Planning Enabling Act authorizes the planning commissions to create CIPs so that they're in line with master plans and other long-range documents. This is designed to demonstrate current and future needs for the village. Equipment, buildings, placemaking, and road projects that have long lives and large expenses are all within the scope of the CIP. You'll see that the year 2022-2023 is clearly defined, while future years get way more fuzzy as you go out. The CIP is reviewed annually for this very reason. It can be changed annually, and you'll see some changes between this version and what we've agreed on for our budget. But it helps with planning over the next several years. Many thanks to Bob MacArthur, our Planning Commission Chair, who has spent lots of hours working through this with me. His experience and expertise has been extremely helpful. In future years, the CIP and budget can be adopted together as one agenda item, but because this is the first CIP to be fully adopted by the village, it's presented here as a separate item. Creating a long-range document like this one is a difficult task, but once it's been created, it becomes much easier to update annually rather than starting from scratch every year. So I recommend the Village Council adopt the CIP for 2022-2029.
Thank you. Would you like to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that the Village Council adopts the CIP plan for 2022 through 2029 as presented.
Support?
Motion on the table by Trustee Nivell, supported by Trustee Green. Do we have any questions or comments at this time?
Sure, I'll kick it off. And again, I guess I apologize for not going to planning commission meetings, but I think we're kidding ourselves with not addressing our street issue in the village. We have 30-plus-year-old streets that are falling apart and getting worse every year, and the capital improvement plan, the plan to address that issue, is not being addressed. So we're talking, looking at this going down another 7 years or more, and not doing any major projects. I think we're really kicking the can down the road, hoping it's going to get better later. I'm not quite sure what we're planning on, but I think it's a lack of a plan. That's it.
All right, appreciate that. Anyone else? Thoughts, additions, feedback? Are we ready for a vote? All right. Everybody's so live tonight. Again, we will do a roll call vote, please. This is our first CIP in about 100 years or so. We appreciate all of those involved, and we're sorry we've been pushing you and pushing you and pushing you for a while, but this has been our pipe dream for quite a while. Thank you. All right, whenever you're ready.
Nivell?
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
sorry guys, Randazzo,
Yes.
Dialis,
No.
George,
No, because there's no trail above that.
Bryce.
Yes.
Make sure I
That
got
motion
it.
carries 5-2. Thank you very much. Next up is the village employee wages to begin on July 1st, 2022. Who is going to start with that?
I'd be glad to. As part of the budget process, each village employee has been considered for an annual wage review. This item serves to recommend a 3% wage increase for each employee. The Personnel Committee has worked to review each employee using a uniform system. It's not a perfect system just yet, but the efforts of each employee have been considered in creating this recommendation. External factors such as comparable work in other municipalities and cost of living changes have also been considered. Reviewing annually allows for better forecasting and aims to mitigate mid-year requests for wage increases. I continue to meet with employees to review their performance over the past year. This process will become an annual one, consistent with the personnel policy to take place as part of the budget process in the spring of each year. Conversations are ongoing. I haven't finished them all, but the conversations and evaluations will become part of each employee's personnel file. It's recommended that wages for village employees be set at the rates that are detailed in your packet, beginning July 1st, 2022. I recommend the village council make a motion to set the wages for village employees as presented to take effect on July 1st, 2022.
Looking for a motion on that. I will make a motion to begin the village employee wage increases, or I'm sorry, the village wage. Let's try it again. Make a motion for the village council to set the wages for village employees as presented.
Could you add to take effect on July 1st for me?
To take effect on July 1st, 2022.
Support.
All right, we have a motion on the table by President Bryce, supported by Trustee Randazzo. Do we have any questions or comments at this time?
So is this basically just the 3% raise that was in the budget?
Correct.
Thank you.
My question is, okay, this is for 22, 23, is there any, and that's what we're voting on, is there anything from a retro standpoint for 21, 22 as far as an adjustment regarding employee wages? And I'm specifically referring to a bonus situation for our village manager, instead of just getting the standard raise. I think he deserves a lot more from a retro standpoint, and if that we're not talking about that now, okay. But I think from a retro standpoint, our village manager deserves a bonus, a big bonus. I'll let it go with that.
Thanks, Pat. I did receive scheduled raises and based on my performance evaluation in 90 days and 6 months and stuff. So thank you.
But you are more than welcome to pass that request along to personnel at any time. An email, a letter, a request to
I
have them
thought I had, but
review something for you, that would be great.
And Pat, you have.
You have.
We,
yeah, I thought I had.
you did.
Okay.
Well, I didn't see anything in the minutes, that's why I'm specifically mentioning it, just because I didn't see
No,
the
appreciate it.
conversation,
Yes.
so.
I don't want
understand
to
that
think
would be
it
the
was
way to-
ignored.
We have
Yeah.
looked at a number of different things, and because we didn't have time to come up with a presentation to the council before tonight, so that's why it's at the 3% at this time.
Okay.
Any other questions or
And
comments? Okay.
If I could add, also, I think all of you received this, the 2022 Municipal Salary Budget Survey Summary Report. We are right with everybody else as far as percentages, as far as that, but we're looking at a number, lots of communities are doing other incentive type things, and we're trying to come up with some of those for our place.
The Michigan Municipal League sent the results of a survey they did for
Yes.
But
communities.
I thought you meant in the packet.
Our size,
Okay.
not in the packet.
It's
Oh,
not in the
I'm sorry,
packet.
it
Came out
wasn't in
late
the-
last week.
I just threw it in my packet, because that.
That's why I was just
you know,
double checking. I'm like,
because
it
this was very
didn't end up in
helpful
the
for
packet.
us to say, okay, we're going in the right direction at least, you know what I'm saying? So that's something too that we just got, and we're looking at all different avenues of what we could do, and then we'll bring it to you for a vote. And if you have any ideas, you can bring it at any time, of course.
Pat, did you have any, this, right now, it's just a motion right now to accept the 3% for everybody. Did you want to propose an amendment to that
All I'm assuming we're, at this point, we're still talking about budget, 22, 23, or is this?
Well, is this budget, or are we talking about?
Yes, we're talking about wages, but it's in the
Wages,
budget.
but
This
the
particular-
budget we just approved reflects these changes.
Right.
All right, because what I'm referring to is if 21, 22 is considered retro, then I'm saying that our village manager deserved this money retroactively relating to 21, 22.
And I guess, Ryan, just.
I mean, we're still in 21, 22, and our village manager has just been able to procure $11 million for sewer development.
Yes, but right now, what you are asking us to.
Joe, that's all I
what we
came.
moved on was to.
For wages.
Give all employees their annual 2022-2023 increase effective July 1st of 3% across the.
Well, I mean, it wasn't automatic. We don't want to say it was
No,
automatic.
I'm just saying, is that right now, this is what we are voting on.
Right, the
That we are-
3%.
We have the budget, and now Ryan's saying, hey, he suggests that we formalize the 3% wage increases and make that official for the employees.
Right.
Setting the budget, and this is one thing I want to make clear to everybody, this has frustrated me for years. When we set the budget, that should not just be assumed that that's written in stone, that's what the employees are getting. I mean, I would prefer to have a budget that has more flexibility and then say, okay, the budget has this much pot of money, and then we might go 3%, we might go a little more for somebody, a little less or whatever, and leave that up more of the discretion of the evaluation process as to exactly what we fall, rather than tie it up with the budget, and then when we approve a 3% increase in the budget, everybody's getting 3%. I don't like that. I would prefer to see a different way of approaching this, as being two separate items, not married together like it is.
This is why we have not come up with something extra. We're still discussing it.
Correct. All right. So, any
that's
more
where
questions or
if-
comments on the request in front of us and the motion in front of
And,
us?
That's what I was just gonna say. If we want to do anything different for the employees for 2022, 2023, this is the time to amend this motion to make any
Well,
changes.
first we need to vote on the motion. And thank you. Are we done?
No,
Don't we?
if we can amend the motion before we vote on it, that would be the correct way to do it.
Well, my point simply is this: if we're sticking with 22, 23, what I'm making a statement about does not really apply to that.
Well, at this
Because
point,
we're
not
still
gonna do
currently,
anything
we're still
right.
currently in year 21,
But I don't think we're gonna
22.
do anything more in
4
2020.
days.
So I'm not really talking about budget out
No,
there.
the motion
So
goes-
if the motion is strictly for 22, 23, I don't
It
have,
is.
I don't have.
That's what the motion
I don't have
is
any
for.
problem with it. I'm just saying that while we still have,
4 days.
4 days left, I would like to see some kind of a payroll adjusted, for the village manager.
So again, that would be a
So it's
great
20
question to direct to personnel.
It's 22, 23. I will vote yes on that, but as long as there's something done retroactively. Okay.
Did we already vote?
No, you can actually
Confused
vote.
where we are.
Yeah, no, we need to just vote on.
This, well, I'm fine.
Vote
I'm
on
fine.
this, and then if you want to do something else,
I just wanted to make that point, that's all.
yeah.
Budget adjustments will be made all of
Once we get
July.
past
Yes.
July 1st, our
Right.
2022.
All
well,
adjustments will be
2021,
made in July.
2022 is closed. We can't draw money out of last year's budget.
Well, we will, because all of our bills will still come in. You will be drawing. All right, so, any more questions or comments on the current motion that we have on the table? All right, could we please have a roll call vote on this as well?
Silas,
Right.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo.
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 7-0. Next up is the review and setting of the planning commission's wages effective July 1st, 2022. And I will send it over to Manager Mattis, please, to start.
As part of our budget workshop conversations, we talked about changing the rate of pay for planning commissioners. We expressed an interest in changing the rate to $40 per meeting to begin July 1st. This item just serves to recommend that change, make it official.
Make a motion to change the rate of pay for planning commissioners to $40 per meeting to begin July 1st, 2022.
Support.
All right, we have a motion on the table by Trustee Green, supported by Trustee Randazzo. Do we have questions or comments at this time?
I do have a comment. I am the representative from council on planning, and I purposely do the pay right now, currently it's 35 per meeting, that planning commissioners get. I'm not sure what the chair gets, just
Oh,
about
yeah.
55. I don't know what he gets, but I take the rate of pay that all the planning commissioners get. And I want that to possibly be a consideration for the future, for any chair that's on planning to take the rate that the rest of the commission takes. Currently, we have it set up to be the rate of what we get at regular meetings. And it's just a thought, but I thought I'd throw it up there.
So that would be something that would be consideration with the procedure of how council is paid, not for planning commission. Because you are paid as a council, as a council representative through council's pay, not through planning's pay. So that would be separate from this.
That's a good point, but we could maybe consider that as something that could be incorporated in rules procedure for
It's-
payments.
Correct, that's what Chen just
Well, and
suggested.
you brought up something else, or made me think of it, or I'm not understanding what you said to begin with. But the chairperson of the planning commission, whatever they make, their pay should go up a little bit too, and we did not cover that in this.
Do they get paid any different?
I thought they did. I thought the chair did.
And I'm not sure, because does the commissioner get,
I don't think that the chair gets paid any different.
okay.
No? Okay, well, if not, then that's
I
fine.
just
Because I
assumed he
think the
did.
planning commission elects a chair for a certain period, and then they elect somebody different, and I don't think the pay changes around.
Okay.
Correct. So the members of planning commission, which is every one of them, receive the pay of $35 per
All right,
meeting.
thank you.
The representative from council is still a council member. So that's why it's not included nor set nor specified in this specific
Okay.
change. But do we have any other questions or comments on
Yeah,
this?
just one comment, I think this is well deserved, because I know.
Oh, I
I was
agree.
on the planning commission, those guys, they put just as much effort and time researching and preparing for those meetings as we do, and they deserve everything.
Yep. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Any others? All right, we're ready for another roll call vote, please.
George,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Hayden,
Yes.
Nivell,
Yes.
Randazzo,
Yes.
Silas,
Yes.
Bryce.
Yes. Thank you. That motion carries 7-0. And next up is F, which is the Ortonville 5K. And we will turn that over to Manager Mattis to start us with, please.
Your packet has the special event permit application for a 5K run the morning of Sunday, September 25th. Through the village, you'll see the map on the back. You may know the applicant, Ken Hartwig. He's a member of the Lions Club. With this would work in conjunction with Septemberfest, which is a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. And there's interest from Parks and Rec to include something like a 5K that morning. The Lions Club has offered to volunteer and lead the 5K run, providing volunteers at street crossings at the start and finish line, etc. The form has been completed in its regular format with signatures from both Lieutenant Glover and Chief Pappas, as well as myself on behalf of the village. That's what I got on this one. So it's for your review and consideration.
I just had a question about the path of it. Is it gonna be right down the middle of the street?
No.
Okay. Is it going to interfere with the old mill and what they have going on? And then also, if I'm looking at this right, and I could be looking at it wrong, down South Street, there's usually lots of vendors there. Is it going to affect their booths?
So there are no street closures scheduled with this event. And
It's not Davis.
the route actually
That
takes
is
them
not
through Davis Alley. So the runners would avoid where the vendors are on South Street, at least to Church Street. That's usually where the traffic detour is anyway. So they would
Right.
run up south and then veer into Davis Alley and then go out to Narren and up that way and so on. But they would remain on sidewalks. So there would be some crossings where there'd be volunteers. As of now, we think CERT is not involved, but I'll invite Chief Guapas to comment if he'd like. But that's the plan.
Okay, am I looking at this wrong then? Because I see it running right down South Street into, I don't even know where it goes into the parking lot of something.
Okay,
That's Davis Alley. So they would avoid the intersection at South and Mill. They would avoid that entirely and go
So they're gonna
down
go
Davis
Davis.
Alley. Yep.
What about, are vendors going to be south of Davis though? No, okay. All right.
No.
All right, and the old mill has no issue about it running in front of them. If we got 200 people, that could be a problem.
Right, they do have some blacksmith demonstrations that are happening Saturday and Sunday, but pending a 5K, I think we'll schedule around a 5K
Okay.
at the mill.
Okay, that
is
was
my
my
assumption.
whole
I haven't talked to the mill about it, but our Historic Society rep seems to agree. Sorry, Tony.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone granting this because we have a meeting on July 12th that I think we need to talk. At our last meeting for Septemberfest, this was brought up, but it was not really discussed. And because this is not until September, I don't really think we need to rush to this to approve it right now when we can do this in our next meeting, July 25th. I would just like to have more clarification because the gentleman that's doing this is the first time he's doing it for Hortonville. So that's my only request, is that we just postpone this until July's meeting. to
What
approve
would
it.
we need
Pardon?
from that meeting? What are we waiting for from that meeting? What type of
Ted
information?
Ted Davis, who is the CERT president, he was invited to this meeting, and CERT input should be part of that, because I know as being a CERT member in the past, we mentioned just now that runners stands on the sidewalks, they don't. They're all over the place. CERT has some training blocking the streets, and I'd like to know how the Lions Club is going to, I'd like to hear more from the Lions Club on how they're going to protect streets.
Okay.
So I
And
would,
so
I would
that,
just
those
like
are
to-
like 5 different questions, because
And I'm-
this is separate from Septemberfest. Chief has signed off that if CERT is needed, they are to request them. This permit does not have CERT attending. If they need to have CERT attend, then they must alter their permit. So this addressed all of those items for us for this event. I'm not pressuring you to approve it. What I'm saying is, our lane is, do we have a special event permit in front of us that is complete, accurate, and appropriate? Not what does everybody else think or do or their part in it. And like I said, but I'm not pressuring you to answer. But all I'm saying is we're dipping our fingers everywhere else. This is come in front of us from them. Are we going to approve it or not? Not, is that okay with, you know, cert or chief or whatever, because they've already made their decisions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm not against it. We were supposed to discuss it before this permit was turned in at the next meeting. That was my understanding when I was at that meeting.
So Tony, would you like to make a,
But you jumped the gun.
I'm just-
make a motion?
No, but
I'm just making a motion to postpone us.
I'll second the motion to postpone.
Just,
Okay.
I mean, if,
Tony,
if,
did you catch that?
sure,
yes, but hold on a minute.
I can assume they're sitting there.
Tony made a motion
Tony's
to
making a motion,
postpone.
we either need
I'm
support or-
I know, I said, hold on a minute. We are in a discussion on the conversation. Not everybody got a chance to discuss, but I'm asking a question to say on that. Was there any feedback from that? Before assumptions are made, who we're waiting on feedback from, did we get any feedback on that?
Feedback from
On what?
From Fred, from you at all?
I've missed Fred every time I've stopped by to see him, but I did speak with Kara in quite a bit of detail about it. She said she knew this was coming, expected it, and it fits the bill for September Fest.
And that's the last I heard, that there wasn't an issue, but I just want to double check and make sure that there wasn't. Okay, so Tony, go ahead. I just want to, before we're in the middle of a discussion with it, now go ahead.
Okay,
With-
like I said, I'm not saying not to, I'm just asking to postpone it,
Right.
so
Okay.
at the September Fest meeting of July 12th,
No, I mean, go ahead with your motion.
I make a motion that we postpone granting this until our meeting of July 25th,
Support.
2022.
All right, we have a motion on the table by trustee Randazzo, supported by trustee Hayden. Have any questions or comments on the motion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Then I'll follow up with Brian after this meeting, after the July 12th meeting.
Item 13 for the evening is the village manager's report, and we will send over this fabulous list to Manager Mattis, please.
Glad we're talking about training wins.
Yeah.
Veterans Resource Fairs, there's several coming up, stay tuned, they're in your packet, so if you know a veteran, want to share that information, there are lots of resources available at those fairs. Any questions?
Oh.
Next, MDOT is offering advanced training wheels to speak to bike and other design kinds of things. Information in your packet, pretty helpful. I'm signed up. Questions on that one? Cool. Next, the Northwest Oakland County Drainage District. That is its proper name. So your packet contains several items related to this one. On May 24th, the Drainage District was officially formed using the petitions filed by the Village Council as well as the other municipalities involved, Brandon Township, Groveland Township, and Holly Township. So that took place on May 24th, and then you'll find the item summary sheet from the Oakland County Commissioners. So as you know, we've all met Brian Coburn from the Water Resource Commission. He's been our champion of all things Northwest Oakland County Drainage District. It's a fun one to say fast. But he got to muscle this through the Economic Development Infrastructure Committee, then literally run to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners Finance Committee on this item, and then to seek approval prior to the Board of Commissioners voting on this last Thursday. So on last Thursday night, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners voted to spend $10 million of ARPA money for the Northwest Oakland County Drainage District. So, as Brian told us back when he was here in July of last year, the significant influx of cash to gain capacity in the Genesee County Kearsley Creek Interceptor sewer system, that was it, folks. Oakland County put in 10 million ARPA dollars for this project. So capacity will be negotiated in July of this year with Genesee County.
big time.
Very good.
Big.
On the last
Yep.
page, so how does that $10 million, that was just for the initial piece, or?
That $10 million, so the negotiation with Genesee County is they're setting the gauge of their pipe, right? And they could build it so big for just Grand Blanc Township, because that's what they're originally doing. But if Oakland County wants to tap in, they can make it this big, or they can make it this big. We are phase 2, so Brandon Township, part of Brandon Township and all of the village are included in phase 2 on the map, the one on the bottom right there. So by including capacity for the Dixie corridor, essentially, Holly and Groveland, and then us, it means setting the pipe this big. Genesee's price for that was $33 million. They're designing and engineering and all that other stuff. So they're 1/3, they're $11 million. The other 11 from Oakland County, and then ARPA dollars for the other third. No, I'm sorry, Grand Blanc was the other third, and then Oakland County was 1/3. So Genesee County in general, then Grand Blanc Township, and then us. You'll notice I said $11 million, so the next item in your packet is that Congresswoman Slotkin. If you remember, she solicited projects to be considered for funding in fiscal year 23 in the federal budget. And she has requested an appropriation of $1 million for this project in the federal budget. You might know these as earmarks. It's appropriations through the House Appropriations Committee. Several very worthwhile projects were submitted to her office. The last I heard, it was over 120 different projects, and only 15 received this level of commitment.
And we were one of them.
We were one of them, which is especially notable because she will no longer be representing us next year. So it's a big deal to get $1 million there.
But it doesn't specifically say $1 million in there, but is that what the letter?
Yeah, this is the letter of support in general. And the April 29th date, I believe, is before the actual numbers were sussed
But
out.
that is what she earmarked it
Yeah.
for. Okay, thank you.
Yep. That was in the notice I forwarded it. It was in an email.
Yeah. Walls and walls.
So $11 million for sewer capacity. It's if we're going to Mars, we just launched on this one. So it's big.
Congratulations,
huge.
Ryan.
Thank
big.
you.
That's huge.
Thank you for getting a seat at the table and taking it seriously. I know I brought it up to 2 others at the village to kind of pay attention, and I've been attending their meetings and paying attention to it for about 4 years, 5 years. So thank you very much for jumping in the first year here and getting on board and doing that. I appreciate it. We all do.
It's very much a team effort. It's a relay race that started in 1956.
Right.
Very slow relay race,
But
but
it heated
yes.
up really quick the last few
Yeah, it
years.
did.
So this
Lots of
was,
detours and dead ends.
timing
This
was
is-
essential, and you made it under the gun, and we appreciate it.
We're now into new territory where we have a system with capacity, and now it becomes a funding. We're phase 2, so you'll hear more about Holly and Groveland initially. But there's state funds, there's federal funds, there's all kinds of things for funds once you have a system you're going to tie into. So it's going to get very exciting very fast.
So we're gonna keep seeing double-digit inflation.
Yeah, really.
Any other questions on that one?
No. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, next one is bridge update. We've talked about our bridge work that's coming up here many, many times over the last year or so. We have a 6-week window where work will begin on our bridges. Z Contractors is who will be doing the work. They are going to be in the village the week of July 11th. So they could start a little earlier. There may be some things happening after beginning July 6th. But they plan to start work in earnest on July 11th. My memo there outlines the different work to happen on each. South Street will be closed for 3 weeks beginning July 11th. It's by far the most extensive work. It's going to see a new road surface, lots of structural enhancements, yada yada. Ball Street will be closed for about 2 weeks. So I know that's a pain, but you'll have to detour around to either Mill or Oakwood rather than cross the creek at Ball Street. And then Mill Street will be worked on for up to a week. It's pretty quick, but Mill Street will remain drivable throughout because it's extra wide. We're gonna take up the parking spots, but not the driving. I will do my best to provide updates during the projects. We've learned, recent history has taught us that providing updates is a challenge, but we will do our earnest best to update the website, social media, things of that nature. So stay tuned. If you can help share information, please do so. Any questions
Yeah,
on that?
Will we, is there any consideration to do notices to residents other than the website or in the paper? I don't know if that was, well, I had some people asking, you know, why did they start here and when, and I know Lee brought it up, actually, Pelshan, at the last planning commission meeting as well. But is there anything that we can do for residents with dates of closures and for businesses? And also ball field, like for the games, does Fred send something out to when there's closures? Because I know the Ball Street will affect anything that's going on down there as well. I don't know how that's handled.
I mean, Chief's got a big loudspeaker. You got a microphone on that thing? As I said, sorry to wake you up. I will do my earnest best to continue to update people, but our means of communication are not the greatest. I don't know what the best solution is. It's one I'm continuing to work on in a lot of different ways, but without spending money on an app that communicates to everybody immediately, or having a automatic dialer that calls every number in the village and tells people here's the upcoming work or something like that. That's really just going to piss off more people than
We're
it
gonna have a
pleases.
phone tree.
I
Right,
don't know
right,
what
I
the
call-
answer
remember
is.
that.
What about, have you considered checking with the post office about getting a flyer into all the local mailboxes?
It'll change by the time you send it out. It can change at any given moment based on the weather and the time and the day.
All you
And
have to do
to
is just say,
send-
this is the general schedule.
Bulk mailing doesn't go out
Information and updates,
at a moment's
contact
notice.
this.
And it's,
Maybe something we could put in the, insert into the paper. I don't know if it costs money or not, but
Information, let the user
I will
know.
continue to do my earnest best and continue to work on communication strategies, but I do appreciate your input, just not now, because we are growing impatient. Did you have something to add for us?
I'll talk to you.
Thanks. Perfect, beautiful.
Time's up.
Cottage. Tony.
Melanie, I was reading something else, but did you mention something about how does Fred let the teams know? Something, you mentioned
She
something like
did.
that?
Yes.
It just says just to
Courtesy.
let people know.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, just so you know, there's a thing called cancellation.com that Brandon Rec uses. You only get it though if you sign up for it, which, and so when it comes out, if you're on, it'll tell you like soccer for this day has been canceled. That's really the only communication other than Facebook and word of mouth.
Yeah.
So, but there is no, Brandon does not have a telephony type messaging system.
Thank you.
just like we're not notified of any MDOT projects, and we all figure it out. We'll get there. Ryan, and
I will be soliciting
Dave
your
will use their
input on
loudspeakers.
communication ideas in the near future. Any other questions on bridges? Alrighty, we held the first of two public education sessions regarding the August 2 ballot question about retail marijuana facilities in the village. This flyer is suitable for framing, or you can hang it up anywhere you'd like in the village. Make copies, give it to a friend, hang it up in the
That's really
pub.
nice. Who put that together?
Jenna.
who did this
Questions
go
on
to?
those?
Us, we knew when these were, if this was just us. I mean,
it's a public packet, so everybody gets to see it.
that picks up a packet.
Those at,
It's
like,
posted
every
on the
business?
website, it's posted out front, it's posted out.
Okay.
Please share it with a friend.
Okay.
Can I stick it at BT?
You can stick this one at Beaky's.
They come down the first of the month, wait till the second. Or they come down at the end of the month, you have to wait till the first.
Ryan, did you say we could Facebook this?
Absolutely. You'll see it on the village's
Oh,
village/township Facebook page as well. Because every good public entity shares a Facebook page. Questions on that one? I'm off tonight.
Was there any updates you wanted to give us other than the flyer?
On the topic.
Great
On
question.
that
The first one was held last week on the 22nd. attended by 17 members of the public, including several members of the Village Council and Planning Commission. There was a variety of questions. Lots of people had thoughts and questions about the who, what, where, when, and why type stuff. I'd encourage you to attend the next one on July 11th. You and anyone else. Bring a friend. Bring a flyer.
And my only input is a reminder that it is a public session, it is not a council session. We are more than welcome to ask questions, but we don't give input, we don't give feedback, and we don't give opinions at the sessions. And I know it's really hard, but it's a attorney and manager-led public session.
Attorney-led.
I don't think any of us gave our opinion at that meeting.
No.
As long as we're speaking as a resident, not as a council member.
Right, yeah.
Next up, you'll see a couple items related to ethics. There's a conversation about ethics and board behavior. And so in lieu of finding one specific MML fact sheet that spoke to any one thing, I decided to make sure everyone has the entire ethics fact sheet at their disposal. So there's definitions there for you. It speaks to malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance as a board member as well as a board. There are a couple different items there for your review and future discussion. Questions on those? Hearing none. This last item, what kind of last item, speaks to the need to review village agreements. It was brought up at the joint meeting on the 13th that we review agreements between the village, the DDA, Brandon Township Parks and Rec, Oakland County Sheriff's Substation, Brandon Township Fire. So there are several entities that we work with on a regular basis, and because of our long history and just great working relationships with so many entities, we have a lot of agreements that exist, and things happen as part of our regular doing business, but they're not spelled out anywhere. So there's a need to review agreements and codify some of those things. The DDA is also eager to review as well. It was discussed this morning, as I understand it. Internal processes will also need to be reviewed. It's been a while since we did a thorough review of some of our forms and some of our processes. Our special event permit, it's one we see almost every village council meeting. It's one that we share with other entities, other people complete it, but it could use some revisions, I think, at this time. So, as well as other forms and other processes. So working with all the other entities that I mentioned and then some, this is not a, we can snap our fingers and make changes process. It's going to take a little time, but I'll appreciate your patience as you look for those. Feel free to ask me for updates, but as they're worked on and completed, I will provide updates as best I can throughout. Questions on that?
Yeah, comment on that, especially when it comes to these special event permits. That's one area where I think that there is a lot of ambiguity and difference of opinions on what's supposed to happen, how things are supposed to be done and stuff like that. And I will probably make some more comments on that later.
Yep.
Trustees. But for right now, I'm just gonna say that the whole coordination process around events and event permits, and who's responsible for what, needs to be a little more formalized and the process around it. Because right now, it's clear to me that there's some issues with communication coordination between police, fire, and village, and event organizers, especially for new events. Existing events we've done a long time, we pretty much know what to do, but for new events, it's very challenging, and unless there's some better guidance provided, I think we're gonna have a lot of problems and issues like we had at a recent event, and like I said, I'll touch on that more later.
Okay, that'll do for manager's report.
Thank you very much. Next up is our public comment. This is on non-agenda items only. If you've bared with us this long, we'd love to hear something from you. Anybody? Trustees.
I just want to say, anyone who wants to stop in and wish Jackie a good retirement, please stop in. Her last day is June 30th.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
I will just say, I didn't really give a full DDA report, I guess. I thought we were just talking about the fireworks, but, the DDA is currently working with the chief to, put a mural on the north side, on the north wall of the fire department, right? We are in mock phase, getting mock sketches, working on that now. Hopefully we'll have some, stakeholder input, in the near future. And I know this is technically an agenda item, but the DDA did review our MOU and village, what do we call that? Village agreements, and we're unanimously agreed that we're happy as to where they stand right now. So that was good. It's always a good idea to review those at budget time. And we also are currently looking at the potential for a dog-friendly community project, which will come with some certifications and some different things like that. Very easy stuff that can be managed quickly, easy, lighter, quicker, cheaper, as we like to call it in the DDA. And so that's another thing that we're kind of working on. Farmers Market is up and running. If you haven't done yet, please come, please volunteer if you can. We have a sign-up genius for that as well. We've got all the dates through the summer. Even if it's just a little while, we are doing some, wholesale. We got a wholesale booth where we're buying products from people at wholesale and selling them on their behalf, because a lot of the problem we see with vendors right now is they don't have the staff. So to get their products down to our market, that's what we've got to do right now. So we could use all the extra hands we can get, even if you could just spend one Saturday this summer for a couple hours, come down and run one of our booths for us.
But how do we do that? Because I've gone on the, whatever you call it.
The Farmers Market Facebook page, it should be up, and there should be a link there to the Sign Up Genius to go through and see your date.
But the only thing I've seen is the setup and the tear down.
It should be updated, like very recently.
Okay. This was a few days ago.
Oh, okay. Well, probably a setup would just,
I think you have to keep scrolling down. If you're on Sign Up Genius, you'll see dates, and then you'll see advertising. If you just keep on going, it gives you the entire summer, every item to volunteer. You just gotta keep
it might just say set up and
it does.
tear down though, because it might be like, you come in and you set up the booth and you run it till 11. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure.
That's what I kept reading. That's all I kept reading.
Set up, tear down, and then there's wholesale booth. There was 5 different items you could sign up for.
I'll check.
Maybe it's an older
I'll make
link.
sure you've got the
Okay,
right.
yeah, because it gave the appearance that all the others were filled. That's
Okay.
why I'm mentioning that.
Oh, that would be.
I'll see
Okay.
if you've got the right link.
Maybe my July 16th, I have to cancel.
Speaking of, DDA.
Your food trucks, that was a great night.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. It was a good
That's
one.
really good.
Happy to be back. I'll tell you what, those food trucks are a pain in the butt to work with. I was just emailing a whole bunch of them today because I'm other paperwork in for this weekend. You didn't hear that, Chief.
I'll tell Jason.
I should have it all by Wednesday. I have a promise that I'll have it all by Wednesday. I think that was all of our updates. So thank you. I try to go fast.
All right. Anything else? Public comment? Thank you very much. Additional items from the trustees, and we will start with you, please, Keith.
Nothing is written.
Thank you. That would be Pat, please.
Nothing that I haven't already mentioned.
Okay.
I just had a couple things. I had sent via our website to Ryan when he was on vacation, but to two of you. And I know it's low priority, but I keep going by it and seeing it all the time. The tennis courts are a disaster. I mean, they really need to be weed whacked. I mean, if anybody, they couldn't use them right now because it's so bad. The second thing is, I hope we do come up with a better solution. I'm really not trying to be critical, but I don't think we're doing a service to any of our residents when hardly anybody knows about the marijuana ordinance, that they could come out unless you were just talking to someone. I think we do need to, as a group or whatever, come up with better ways of informing and keeping informed our public, not just, word of mouth. That it's not the community we live in anymore. And the website is, I don't know anyone who uses it, so I don't think anybody's getting their information there. Just my thought on that. And another thing, and I'm trying not to be critical, but it's really hard to do a good job at our meetings when our packets are so late. And I'm not blaming anyone, because I know things happen, they come up, and you just can't get it done. But we had changed it to Wednesday. I don't even know the last time we got our packets on Wednesdays when they were completed. So I'm just saying, if we could hone that down a little bit better, I'd feel a lot better about everything. I know it's online, I try to do that too, but I like to write things. That's all, thank you.
I know I missed public comment, but I do know Greg's trying to put together like a special thing to air on the marijuana thing to try to inform more people.
Good, that's good, thank you.
I didn't know if you guys knew that.
No, I didn't,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks.
Yes. It was mentioned at the public meeting as well. And when that is together, we will be able to pass that and share that out. And it will be mentioned again at the general.
Have we put anything in the paper for that?
Who is we?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
In the briefing.
Yes.
About having
Worst kept secret in town.
You what?
Worst kept secret in town.
Oh.
So, to your comment, just keep in mind too, there are always items on the ballots
I
that
know.
we as residents would like to, educate ourselves before we go. We all have our resources of everything that we read and where we go to. So I don't believe everybody's going to our website. They're going elsewhere that we are providing that information. I don't want to plug a certain place or another, but we all know where we go when we see our sample ballot and where we collect our information. That information will be found there as well, in those multiple entities too. So no different than any of that.
Again, I don't want to be critical. I just think there are things we can do as a council to try to make it easier for people to know what's going on. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
And so Larry, please.
Okay. First, this is a topic I was asked to bring up at the council meeting here because there was several days, sometime last week, we were out there and I heard feedback from my family that there was at the school behind the library, the old school, which is now a private place. I know that they're doing the training for Oakland County sheriffs and stuff, but there was a lot of yelling and he's got a gun and this and that and the other, and okay, that's just noise, but there was it was also reported that they heard like firearms being discharged. I'm assuming blanks or something like that, but to me that is something that I don't know whether they're blanks or not, whether that's permitted in the village under our ordinances. So that might be something just to check and follow up and see if there's anything follow up in relation to that activity. Like I said, noise is one thing, but any firearm, even if it's with blanks, I know that they do still expel like hot wax or whatever, and things that can still cause some kind of injury. So I don't know whether that's something that should be checked or not. I was asked and requested to mention that during the council. So, another point, and this goes back to what I started to say earlier about the event permits and stuff. Specifically at the Abigail's Pride Parade event, There were several things that, I was there performing my duties as a CERT member that day. So I was acting under authority of the fire department and coordinating with the sheriff's department as directed. And this comes down to a few different things. At those events, that event permit is supposed to designate exactly what is happening, what the street closures are, when they're going to be closed, and things like that. And we coordinate with the police and fire department on those topics to make sure that we are following what the event's supposed to do. When I got there, I found that things were not well coordinated. It seemed even though, when the sheriff's department did arrive, they were getting last minute changes from the event organizers and such about what to do. And on top of that, I saw we had volunteers that were erecting barricades on their own, which is totally inappropriate because volunteers have no authority to put up any barricades or obstruct traffic in any way whatsoever. There was deviations to the event permit. I was told directed by Lieutenant Glover that this street was going to be barricaded this way and open to a certain point. And what really bothered me is that when I went to do that after the parade went through and started moving the barricade, Tanya, our village president, came to me and says, "No, that's been changed," and well, that's okay, but
No, not correct. I did not say it's been changed. I said it wasn't where it belonged. There was a big difference.
You said it wasn't where it belonged, but I was moving it under direction from the sheriff's department as to what they were informed was where that barricade was supposed to be. And you came and said, "No, that changed this morning at 7 a.m. after discussion with the store owner." No, you told me, because
I said it follows the permit. The store owner made a choice which was not correct and did not have the authority to make that choice. The permit was where I was having it placed, which was agreed upon by all entities.
Okay, because I was told that the store owner was not happy, and then they agreed to change it so that it would be open in front of Hamilton's. That was what the information Lieutenant Glover had at about 10 o'clock in the morning when I consulted with him. Then when I went to move the barricade according to the sheriff's instruction, you told me, no, you talked to the store owner this morning and he said that it would be okay to leave it at the original place.
Correct.
And at that point, I mentioned that, well, this was not communicated to the sheriff's department and it needed to be. And I believe you told me that the sheriff's department does not have to be involved with the changes.
I said they've already agreed upon where it was, and Ted was down there and he was telling Ted to do the same thing.
Yeah, because
So, everybody was miscommunicating with each other. The
Yeah,
bottom line
maybe
is
it
what
was
was agreed upon is
misunderstanding.
what should have been done. Something different was done, which wasn't correct.
Well,
So we were
anyways,
fixing it.
Whatever the case, my concern there is that it absolutely, any changes made, number one, that event permit is the final authority. So once we approve it, it's been approved by the police and fire, they have to approve it because as emergency services, they have to verify that it's okay to close those streets for those time periods. Any changes to that has to get reapproved by the police, fire, and the village council. They can't just be changed on the fly without a resubmission of that event permit. Number two, it's absolutely, even though the village has the authority to authorize street closures, according to the Uniform Traffic Code, which our ordinances state we follow, it's the police department's responsibility for traffic control. So the police department absolutely has to be notified of any street closures or changes to street closure events. And it seemed like there was, some kind of a thought that maybe the sheriff's department didn't need to be involved. And that concerned me because absolutely the sheriff's department needs to be informed of any changes or modifications to that event permit or the street closures or the times. If something were to change and they weren't notified and there was some, heaven forbid, some kind of either a vehicle accident involving property damage or personal injury, and the village allowed that to happen without informing the proper authorities, I think that it'd be clear that the village would have liability for that. That's why I'm saying that we really need to make sure that we have a more formal communication and process around the event permits and the communication with the various entities involved, the police, fire, and other supporting entities. make sure that this, that really bothered me that, it sounded like there was a lot of these informal type communications, discussions going on, and I know Lieutenant Glover was a bit frustrated with the way things happened there. I was frustrated as a CERT member trying to perform my duties, properly, and, I wanna make sure we don't have that type of miscommunication and problems again. So I think that needs to be clarified and formalized, and, we need to make sure that we fully understand who is responsible for traffic control, and make sure event organizers know that too, because volunteers should never be putting up or erecting any type of barricades.
Are you sure, Larry? Because the DDA always puts up the barricades because CERT refuses.
CERT doesn't.
CERT does not refuse.
Nope.
I was gonna say.
No.
But anyway,
Nope.
this is here nor
You made your
there.
point, Larry. Do you have more? Do you have other things to comment on?
I was gonna say, the conversation of all the, what might not need to be changed on that would be directed at you, but an opinion versus a fact of who's deciding where things were changed or whatever is not correct. It's all been discussed amongst those that were in charge of that, and they are all well aware, and they've all had a chance to talk about it. So I would love if you would share that with Ryan as to what your concern might be and how to fix it. That would be fabulous.
Well, I know when we've had training from the police department on traffic control, they've made it very clear to the CERT team exactly what authority we have and what authority we do not have. And I can guarantee you, volunteers working the event do not have authority to barricade traffic.
Larry, in the interest of time, that's the third time you've said it. We gotta move on. Beating dead horse. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So anyways, I think also when it comes to communication, our CERT team was not well informed about these events either, and that's why I said, when we get to the point where you are working on this process, please involve me. I would also like to get Chief's input on exactly how he feels the communication process should go between the fire department and CERT team and all, because when he writes on his event permit, if CERT's needed, contact CERT. I've heard some people sound like, well, the police is gonna contact and keep them informed. And I think that it needs to be a more direct link.
That might go along with one of those internal agreements you're working on.
Yeah, and that's why I said, when we start working on those, I would like to have some input on that. Regarding the CERT team, just for clarification, at our last CERT meeting, I know you said Ted Davis is CERT president. I happen to be CERT secretary at our last meeting. We did formally agree to have 3 people from CERT identified as official contacts, and Ted's supposed to be sending in a communication to all you guys on what we agreed at our last meeting there. Once you get that, then I should be able to more directly communicate to you on behalf of CERT. And that's it. I just was saying I want to get these things straightened out, because we need to have a better process. I don't want to see all the issues that we had at an event like that again.
Thank you. Melanie, please.
My comment, and by the way, I agree, Larry and also Kay, and we can do a better job communicating. This council can do it. The public education sessions, I was surprised not to see Sergeant Glover there. I have informed him of this so that he can attend the next meeting, since if this goes through and he has to enforce a lot of what this ordinance will be, I think it's very important that he comes with questions that we won't even consider, that have to do with, his job and what their staff will need. So hopefully, if I don't know if anyone wants to remind him from the office. If not, I will remind him. If you see him, please remind him to attend.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
Tony, how about you? Anything?
Yeah, first off, I apologize because I know the director of the library is here. When I was talking about the movie, this, past week, the library sponsored that as well as Genesis Credit Union. So I just want to give them a shout out and say thank you. Ryan, I was looking through my email real quick and I just wanted to make sure that is the walk through the trail thing still going on Wednesday?
Wednesday at 5, there's a hike.
I think it was
Call.
supposed to rain that
I'm just
day.
gonna say weather.
There's a what?
It's
It'll be muddy.
No, I said, I saw the weather too.
oh yeah,
Muddy hike.
it's supposed to rain, but I cannot take a chance walking in there because I don't want to get injured. But I can come to the 7 o'clock after that. Okay.
Yep.
I won't beat a dead horse. I'm just going to say this whole discussion that Larry brought up and everybody else brought up about the permit is exactly why I want to thank you guys for postponing this 5K run until after the meeting on the 12th. So that's all I got.
Thank you, much appreciated. Well, I was gonna give farmer's market updates, but those have all been done. I was gonna give firework updates, those have all been done, so awesome. My only other thought, just to keep in mind, and I'm not saying we have done the budget, and I'm perfectly aware of that. As Melanie mentioned, our thoughts are majorly with Holly. Keeping in mind on our radar is always the fire suppression system in the old mill. And I cannot continue to state the importance of that. We know that it has been a Wayne Mills thing for 10 years. It's been a my thing for 5 years. That's a continued discussion of a huge expense that we have, and we have to decide whether that's important to us or not. And again, I'm not saying stick it in this year's budget, but we can't lose sight of
Do
it.
they ever do grants for that?
Yes.
Yes.
And we have tried to pursue that. And because that is something that also pertains to Brandon Township, we have dialogued and they are of interest. And I'm not saying to fork over the money, I'm saying to be involved. And Groveland Township as well. There is Groveland Township items in there. So, you know, we have the option. Break that 100 grand down, which is now probably 500 grand, but I'm gonna stick with 100 grand in my dreams. That's 33,000 a piece. It's possible. So
Right, it is.
again, I'm just throwing out fake numbers that aren't there. But it's a wish, it's a dream, and I don't want us to forget that, and that
Yeah.
beats that
Yeah.
up. that
And we need
That
to
would be
do
awful.
something really, we just need to plan it.
So anyway, but like I said, just keep it in your mind and get creative and use your heads, and let's all figure this out. So
Yep.
that's all I got.
Can I mention
Oh, go ahead.
talking about that fire suppression, if somebody, whoever's got information on it, I'm just curious, for the old mill and that fire suppression system, that well, is that only for the old mill, or would that cover other businesses for fire
You have
suppression?
the extra here.
I mean, I don't wanna, you can email me, it's just a personal question. It's
It would
not-
only be for the old mill
Oh, it's
because
just for the old mill.
it's gonna have to fill a reservoir, it's gonna have to have a jockey pump, it's gonna have to have a fire pump. And I can worry with all the details, but.
Yeah.
It's the
No, and that's what I say.
the expense is the pressure, correct?
hour, I don't have a problem with that.
No, I was just curious if it's to help out the other facilities, buildings on the corner.
Right. Yes. No.
I got you.
Good question. All right. Did you have anything you thought of or forgot?
If you haven't turned in a timesheet for June or any other month in 2021, 2022, please get that to me this week.
Yeah.
Me or the village office in general.
How about an expense report? Got one of those?
I don't have one on me.
All right. Are we good?
Good.
I am looking to entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Sport.
We have a motion on the table by Trustee Rendazzo, supported by who? All right, Trustee Green. Questions or comments? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?